Good afternoon. I'm Steve Slocum, and this is another Squeaky Wheel Commentary, where the subject is always the same. Here's where I advocate for a much higher level of investment and engagement from the state of North Dakota, and to a degree, the federal government, in safely and responsibly developing North Dakota's oil and gas. And while I'm at it, welcome to the Williston Basin, where only 3 people actually know where the term roughneck comes from. In regards to today's centerpiece song, imagine the gal the song is directed at is Western North Dakota, and the alleged lover in the song would be the state government of North Dakota. As you'll hear, it's not the best relationship in the world. Today's topic is a question I was recently asked, which was, what would you do, Steve, if you were in charge of oil and gas development in North Dakota? Okay. I thought you'd never ask.
You and your boyfriend ought to call it quits. He buys you clothes, but they never fit. They're always 2 or 3 sizes small. Don't think it's you that he wants at all. Nobody thinks that he's the man for you. Nobody in the whole wide world. He used to hold your hand and stroke your hair. He'd wanna take you with him everywhere. That only lasted for a year or less. Now he acts like you're a nagging pest. Nobody wants to see you treated that way. Nobody in the whole wide world.
On day one, I would set up a program so every resident in Western North Dakota who owns a non-commercial vehicle would get a yearly $300 check from the state to buy a new windshield. Busted windshields from semis and other trucks are a cost residents shouldn't have to bear. This is but another impact, pun intended, they are forced to absorb. Might have to think about this a little more, though. Might have to be semi-annually.
I know he lets you use his credit card. To break that habit must be pretty hard. But you don't need his money or his name. You don't need him for a single thing. Nobody likes him, not his family or friends. Nobody in the whole wide world. You ever notice how he looks at you? Like there's something you forgot to do. Like there's something that he truly needs. No matter what, this jerk just can't be pleased. Nobody else could put up with him. Nobody in the whole wide world.
I would then demand the legislators to get out of the box and then burn the dang thing. During this incredible chaos of oil and gas development in North Dakota, the legislature avoids funding their impact responsibilities by saying things like, we've never funded brick and mortar for schools before. Yeah, well, you've never been responsible for managing a world-class oil and gas development either.
I heard you left him and then went back. You're gonna give your mama a heart attack. He's not the kind of guy to change his ways. And don't go thinking he's a soul to save. Nobody thinks that that's a good idea. Nobody in the whole wide world. You've heard about fish in the sea. Might be a fish that even looks like me. I may be right, I'm probably wrong. But don't you know that you won't end up alone? There's no one out there who compares to you. Nobody in the whole wide world.
I'd also gather the heads of every department in the state and make sure they understood the days of lowballing the cheapest way to do things are over, and that transfer and impact from one area to another will no longer be tolerated. Perfect example, using Williams County Road 9 for the east truck bypass around Williston was a lowball cheapskate move that simply transferred the impacts of heavy trucks from Williston to the residents who built their rural dream homes along the same road. County 9 doesn't even meet the basic criteria for a truck bypass, which are designed and placed in areas where there are minimum access roads to it. Williams County 9 must have 50 or more access points to it from homes and businesses. You'd also think the state might be interested in knowing how many trucks are using this route, but since its opening over a year ago, not one vehicle counter has been strung across the roadway. Seems like it's one of those out of sight, out of mind deals. Just like I'm going to be. Let's take a break. I'm back. Today's musical centerpiece was Nobody in the Whole Wide World, performed by Greg Trooper. Okay, back to what I'd do if I was in charge of oil and gas development in western North Dakota, understanding it's much easier to scramble an egg than to unscramble one. I would, at a minimum, triple the number of highway patrolmen and truck regulatory officers in western North Dakota, then build at least 10 truck weigh stations that would operate 24 hours a day. I'd also provide portable road scales to any law enforcement agency that wants one. It would be so common for trucks to get weighed that truck drivers would no longer dare run overweight, which if you talk to truck drivers is done pretty much all the time. These overweight fatso trucks are tearing up our roads faster than they can be built. I'd be tearing into their wallets at a level that would take their overweight breath away. Speaking of roads, I'd start tearing up secondary roads. These were built decades and decades ago as farm-to-market roads. They were great roads back in the day, but were designed for at most tandem-axle trucks, and we all know how that's changed. It's time to redo these farm-to-market roads to handle this long-haul economy North Dakota's governor and other politicos in Bismarck keep projecting aggressively. A big and bold reconstruction of western North Dakota's secondary roads will pay rich benefits for both oil and agriculture. Rebuilding them will also position western North Dakota for further economic development of various flavors, including tourism. So if the state of North Dakota really believes this economic engine will continue at a strong pace for 30, 40 years, how come they aren't putting our money where their mouth is? They will probably say that it isn't necessary, as pipelines will replace the truck traffic that is tangling up pretty much every roadway and the road budget. That would be short-sighted. There are riches far beyond the Bakken, with another 24 known hydrocarbon-bearing formations above and below the Bakken. We know where the trucks will be, so where's the faith in those decades of prosperity? The probable potentiality of the Williston Basin is mind-boggling. Besides, pipelines will only carry so much relief. There would still be thousands of wells drilled over the next 30 years that will require the road delivery of rigs, frac crews, workovers, production equipment, etc. Besides all this continued use, there'd be the return of decent roads for our farm producers to utilize. We owe these producers, who pretty much paid for the original road that oil development destroyed. Yeah, I'd rebuild a lot of roads, designed this time for axles carrying 40 tons. Another thing I'd do is create and develop a world-class industrial reclamation program at North Dakota State University and the University of North Dakota. There are already too many visible wounds and scars from oil and gas development, visually polluting the beautiful vistas that all of us in western North Dakota love to be swallowed up in. In my mind, having the mineral rights doesn't give anyone the right to visually pollute the landscape. Here's a kicker for you. If I was in charge, I'd build a refinery of North Dakota. It would be set up no different than the way the Bank of North Dakota and the North Dakota State Mill are. I might add, both of these state-owned enterprises are profitable and have benefited the state tremendously. After the refinery is built, one capable of producing virtually every fuel used in North Dakota at a production level that exceeds North Dakota's projected consumption in the year 2050, I'd issue a new driver's license to every North Dakotan. This new high-tech license would allow North Dakota residents to purchase 50 gallons of gas each month with a swipe of their driver's license anywhere in the state at a steep discount. Say $2 a gallon. Private gas stations still maintain their profit margin, but the state would be returning some of the taxes collected from oil and gas development to individual North Dakotans. Hey, talk about your stimulus package. In addition, it isn't only the United States that should be interested in energy independence and energy security. It makes absolutely perfect sense to protect our industries, farmers, government, emergency services, and citizens from any interruptions in our supply of fuel, especially in a state that is no stranger to minus 30-degree temperatures. We seem to always be one Gulf Coast hurricane away from high prices or limited fuel products. I'd build it in a heartbeat. I'd have to get up early, but there's a few things I'd do tomorrow if I was in charge of North Dakota's oil and gas development. Trust me, if it wasn't for time constraints here on the Squeaky Wheel Commentary, there'd be a bunch more. That sounds like another show coming up on the same topic. That sounds like job security. Maybe not for another 30, 40 years, but for sure another commentary on another day. Thanks for listening in today, and remember this. If you want North Dakota's oil and gas developed in a safe and responsible manner, you need to be engaged and invested as much as the state of North Dakota and the U.S. government should be. The main thing you should do is to know who you want to represent and advocate on your behalf in the state legislature and the U.S. Congress. If they are majority party incumbents in western North Dakota, odds are they've done a poor job of that. However, you have the power to turn theirs off. So just do it and elect people who take you, your district, and their jobs seriously. I'm Steve Slocum, and this is the Squeaky Wheel Commentary. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll be here next week, same time. You can email me at squeakywheelradio@yahoo.com. And until then, I'll see you later.